You have tuned in to Christians and Money. Thank you for taking me along with you on your mobile device, the web, the TV, or through our other syndicated outlets. I help Christian income earners create, manage, and distribute profitable legacies through the instruction and application of biblical stewardship strategies. Because prosperity is not entitled, but it is within reach. Profitable Christians can enjoy debt-free wealth and give generously to the things that move their hearts. And we take an unapologetic Christian approach to our topics because we believe the Bible is a practical, relevant guide to success. And my goal today is to deliver high value at high standards to you, my listening audience. So today I have a mover and shaker of the industry. What industry shall we call this? The expat industry, maybe, if you want to call it that. Well, she is an absolute authority in this space. Trust me, I've done the homework. If you Google traveling to another country, this woman is coming up. I promise you, she is the go-to person. I have the person for you. So she is providing massive value to those who she serves. She has raving fans, of which I am one. And here I am just bringing Kathleen Petticourt to you. So let me just tell you a little bit about Kathleen. Kathleen Petticourt is the founder of the Live and Invest Overseas publishing group and an expert on the subject. With more than 30 years of experience covering this beat, Petticourt reports daily on current opportunities for living, retiring, and investing overseas in her daily e-letter, which I also get. Her newest book is How to Retire Overseas: Everything You Need to Know to Live Well for Less Abroad, a book I've also purchased. She was a partner with Agora Publishing International Living for 23 years. This woman has major stability, major credit. Okay, guys, in that capacity, she opened her first office overseas in Ireland, where she managed a staff of 30. She's also operated International Living Publishing and real estate marketing offices in Latin America and France. I am absolutely honored to have Kathleen Petticourt with me today. Kathleen, thank you for joining me.
Hello. Thank you. I'm very, very pleased to be here to talk with you today. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. So Kathleen, I just want to start with this. Honestly, I have been following you because I was doing my own research, because one day I intend to travel and probably retire abroad. So I started doing my homework. And of course, you were the go-to person to come to. No question about it. So I started following you. However, because of the audience that I serve, I know many of them are thinking the same way I am. And so I figured you'd be an awesome person to talk to, so I can share you with them. So Kathleen, you are the go-to expert for those of us who are considering relocating to other countries. Who would you say are the people who tap your expertise the most? And I'm anticipating retirees, missionaries, or just anyone looking to escape the grind of North America. Who do you think is your most?
Historically, it's been retirees for sure. I would say within the past 5 or 6 years, my audience though is getting younger and younger all the time. And so when I first was talking about these ideas, it was very definitely just straight up retire overseas. And so I was speaking to a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old looking to stretch a retirement budget, you know, looking for a place where you could live a comfortable, interesting lifestyle on a small retirement budget. But this space has evolved very dramatically in the past decade, and especially, again, even in the past 5 or 6 years. And it's understandable, mostly because of technology. Because as technology makes it easier and easier for anyone to be anywhere in the world and earn an income and make money and do what you want to do and follow your passions and your interests, then anyone can do it. And more anyone is doing it, not just retirees.
Absolutely. I definitely have a wireless lifestyle, so I can also go anywhere at any time. And that, you know, the only thing that's pinning me right now is my very old mother-in-law, she's not prepared to pack up and go with me. So I've got to kind of jam here for a little bit, if you know what I mean. You know what I thought too, Kathleen, you didn't really stress missionaries, but I want to say, If they haven't been reaching out to you, I think they should, and here's why. I used to be with Youth for Christ International, and the gentleman that I worked for, I did a lot of his travel, and he was going to a lot of scary places. And it was scary because we didn't know what he was going into. So, and then a lot of missionaries do pack up and relocate somewhere else. And they may not be going necessarily to where you are. I don't know. Some of them may be, but honestly, there needs to be a service like yours for missionaries. I just want to put that out there.
No, that's a good point. Not to cut you off, but we do have, I know, some missionary readers, and one place in particular that we cover that has a large missionary community is Belize. There's a lot of activity in that country.
And actually, well, I'll get to that. I'll say that. So I bought your book, and the book again is How to Retire Overseas, Everything You Know to Live Well for Less Abroad. And I will put a screenshot of that up here for you guys. So if anyone is considering retiring overseas, or as Kathleen just said, if you have a lifestyle you know that you can run remotely by laptop, you basically are someone to consider this opportunity. You could be living on the beaches of Malawi, for all I know. I mean, you know, honestly. So guys, you know, Kathleen, you have the book, you have the newsletter, you've got actually several books on Amazon. But this is the information overload era. So if someone were to ask you from your vast selection of stuff to read, stuff to look out for, what would you guide them to? I mean, for one thing, when I purchased this book, I noticed it was 2008. Then we're now in, 2018. We're now in 2020, and stuff could be changing or has changed. So what would you say?
For sure, these topics, these issues, and the information changes all the time. I have a new book coming out in June that will be an updated version, but with a focus more on cash flow, earning cash flow while living overseas and investing in real estate. So that could be interesting to your audience for sure, I think. And that, as you say, will be more current. I just finished that manuscript last month. But right now, if someone were just getting started to consider these ideas, what I recommend as a great first step is my free e-letter. Because it's free, because it's so low key, it comes every day, but you don't have to read it every day. You read it when you have time, or file a bunch away, and then on a Sunday afternoon, sit down and read, you know, several of them. It's just it casts a very wide net. So it looks at this idea from many different perspectives, from the retiree, the investor, the property owner, second home owner, anyone looking to live any version of this lifestyle anywhere in the world. So one day we're talking about Portugal, then the next week Belize, then Medellin, Colombia, Italy, all the usual places, Italy, France, etc. And then some places you might not think about, like Colombia, Thailand, but there are so many interesting options. And as you say, it can be information overload, but I think if you take it one little step at a time and just let it kind of sink into your brain and then process around, and the e-letter is a good way to do that.
You have an event coming up too, I believe, that kind of will help people. I think for that, it sounded to me, because like I said, I've been following your stuff, like it's people who are more kind of ready to pull the trigger, or within a year or two. Tell us about that event. I don't want to date stamp this show because I don't want to have to pull it. I'm just being honest. So just, you know, if it's an annual thing, say it's an annual thing, and I will provide for those who request it. So guys, if you're listening and you want to know Kathleen's event dates, I would say subscribe to her e-newsletter because she does put it there. And is this an annual event, Kathleen?
It is for sure. And this year we'll be doing it. It's our 10th annual event. And so we do this every year in the summertime. So July, August, September, sometime around there, and in a different US city each year. We try to alternate East Coast, West Coast to make it, you know, easy for different parts of the country to come and join us. It's our biggest event that we put on each year. It's usually 300 people or so. And it really is, it's very varied. So we'll have people who have just begun to think about this and maybe don't even have a passport yet, maybe have never traveled outside the country. And then we'll have people who have been traveling their whole lives, maybe have already lived in some other country or worked in another place, already made investments overseas, for example, but are looking for a next step, you know, a next phase in their own journey, in their own story, because this is forever evolving for each person who takes up this path. You know, it isn't all or nothing, and it isn't, oh, I'm going here and then that's the end. What I think most people find is once you take one step, other opportunities present themselves, and each next step, each subsequent step is easier.
Plus, sometimes people will maintain multiple homes, like, you know, 6 months here and 6 months there kind of a thing.
Exactly. Part-time in different places.
Okay, so Kathleen, I'm originally from Jamaica. A lot of people don't assume that. They think I'm something else, but I'm originally from Jamaica, for those who don't know. And while I would encourage anybody to visit that, I honestly would dissuade you from choosing to live there. Let's not have an argument over that. That's just my personal opinion at this time. But I also noticed Jamaica was not included in your book, at least at this time. Now, so I wondered, how do you go about deciding which countries and cities make what I call the petticoat cut?
We have a list. We have a list of categories. It is very both subjective, of course, based on experience and judgment, but it's also quantifiable. You know, there are certain metrics that we look at. So number one, a place must be safe. There must be no crime or safety concern. Number two, it must have good health care, relatively easy access to good health care. Three, it must be affordable. Now what does that mean? Affordable is different for every person, so that's very relative. But, you know, Monaco is a beautiful, safe place to live, but Monaco wouldn't make sense for us to highlight in this context, for example. It's just too expensive. So a place must be relatively affordable, and then it must have good weather, at least part of the year. It must have very good weather. And then beyond that, we look at things like accessibility, infrastructure, taxes, how easy it is or not to establish residency. So we have these categories that are the top, it's 12 categories we look at altogether, the top 12 things that are important.
Trying to be good stewards of our finances, especially, we want to be sure that, you know, we're handling that money right. So what would you say are some of the top reasons that, you know, why people should not go blindly into a decision to relocate to some foreign country without guidance similar to what you offer?
Well, honestly, because it isn't for everyone. It's, you know, to me, it's a very exciting lifestyle full of benefits and advantages, but it isn't for everyone. And it isn't easy. You know, it requires some work. It requires work thinking it through, planning it out, going through the steps of, you know, we talked about the different categories of issues you have to consider. One of them, for example, is residency. Well, that's a process, and it comes at a cost, and it's administration, which isn't fun. Taxes, you've got to think through your tax, you know, what will your tax liabilities be more or less living in this place versus where you're living now. There are a lot of practical administrative issues to address. That's not fun, and it's work, and it's an expense. And then once you've made the move, honestly, it's not easy. Your new life, I do completely believe, of course, can be hugely bigger and better than the life you're currently living. If for no other reason, then it's going to be new, and it will be full of adventure and the unexpected and contrast and a new perspective. And I think those are all good things for anyone to you know, have in your life. I think they make any life richer. But again, it's going to be work. Things aren't going to work the way you're used to them working. They aren't going to make sense to you. There are going to be frustrations and challenges, especially if you move to a developing country, a developing world country, like Belize, for example, like a lot of the places we talk about, where things just, again, they won't make sense to someone who's grown up in the United States. And you'll wonder, why do they do that way? They could do it this way and it'd be better. Well, it's not for you to show up in Belize or Mexico or anywhere and say, well, why do you do it that way? Do it this way, the way we did it, where I came from. If you bring that perspective with you to your new life, you will be constantly frustrated and disappointed, and you'll feel like you're banging your head against the wall, because you will be. So you need to bring with you a very open mind and a sense of humor. Those are the two most important things. And if you can't do a little bit of soul searching and be honest with yourself and that you're ready for this kind of an adventure, it is a big adventure, that you're ready for this and that you've got an open mind and that you're not going to let the day-to-day trials and tribulations get you down. You're going to keep your sense of humor. If you can't feel that way for real, you know, honestly with yourself, then it might not be for you. And so I would say that the best advice I like to give anyone thinking about these ideas who doesn't have a lot of experience already traveling or spending time in other countries or other cultures is to take a trip. Start with a vacation. Go somewhere that interests you and just spend 2 weeks there or what have you. Again, you know, dip a little toe into the idea and go organically, step by step.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm from Jamaica and I'm amazed. So, and my sister she works with the embassy in Jamaica and she's responsible for Americans who get there and get in trouble. And they do get in trouble. And one of the biggest things is they assume it's 911. It's not 119. And so, you know, the mindset of hospitals, you know, you have to really think it through. But yeah, I think the younger generation, probably why I asked is that they just tend to just get up and go and they don't necessarily think things through. The older ones of us, I think we've had a little bit of life experience. We're more prepared to do that. But, you know, the younger ones will come along. What can I tell you? So, you know, Kathleen, is there anything else that you think we should, you know, maybe I haven't thought through that maybe think we should know about?
The only thing I would say is that if you're listening to this and the idea of lazing on a beach in the Caribbean or of being in an old world city like Paris where I am, which can be way more affordable than you might imagine. The dollar is so strong right now. As a practical matter, the US dollar is very strong against key currencies around the world, including the euro. If you have ever dreamed about this, just expand your exposure to the idea, you know, just give it a chance. And as I said, it isn't for everyone, but even if you only, you know, if you only took that first trip, well, then you come back home and you had a great vacation and you've got great memories and a great story to tell. But taking one step, you don't know where it will lead. And I, at this point, have been doing this so long. I know many, many thousands of people who've made these moves or some version of this move. And I don't know anyone, honestly, who's ever regretted it, who's ever regretted making a move. That doesn't mean that it went smoothly or well all the time, or that there weren't problems, or they didn't at some days question, you know, their sanity. What was I thinking? What am I doing? But in, you know, big picture, when you reflect on the whole experience, I don't know anyone who's regretted it. The only thing I have heard often from people who've done it is, why didn't I do it sooner? This is amazing. I wish I hadn't waited 5 years, 6 years thinking about it. I wish I had gone sooner.
Fabulous. Now, there's no way to download all the wisdom that Kathleen has to offer us. So what is a way that, you know, listeners can follow up with you?
I would say if you go to my website, liveandinvestoverseas.com, and it's very, I hope very clear there on the homepage how to sign up for the e-letter. That is the best first step. And then read along as long as it interests you, and when it doesn't, unsubscribe.
And again, that e-newsletter is free, and it's an interesting read, guys. You're gonna, I mean, Colombia, I would have thought, what? It's like,
right, we're writing a lot about Medellin now, and we get that reaction.
Thailand, I mean, Thailand, you don't know for a vacation, but to live, what? So, you know, you wanna, if these things, and it's very affordable, but, you know, and you can have a fantastic luxury, you know, vacation lifestyle on a budget, but at the same time, there are other things to consider, guys. These are sometimes third world countries, and there are other things to consider. This is why I've introduced Kathleen to you. She is an amazing wealth of wisdom when it comes to a decision of this magnitude, and it is a big one. So, Kathleen, I so appreciate your time. Again, guys, I will put up a link for the website that she mentioned, liveandinvestoverseas.com. There we go.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you so much, Kathleen, for joining us today on Christians and Money.
My pleasure. Thank you. Great to talk to you.
Okay,
bye. Bye.